Welcome back. Do we have a real catch of a guest for you today? Actually, as you'll see, we have three for the price of one. So grab your knee pads and chest protector. I'm Grayson Knight, and this is Baseball Podcasts Are Fun. For some reason, I've had several catchers on the show, way more than any other position. I've had Major League backstops, starting Major League game managers, and even a World Series champ. Of course, I've had the Savannah Bananas and Party Animals dishwashers as well. But today we have Coach Anj Bourgeois. Is that I said it right? Bourgeois?
Anj Bourgeois. Yeah,
Anj
try one.
Bourgeois. Better known as Coach Bougie, or to many catchers around the country, catching made simple. Coach Bougie's videos are all over social media, and he's helped countless catchers get better from his instruction. I wanted to get some of his backstory, but I don't play catcher, so in a few minutes, I'm going to have some more help too. Until then, ladies and gents, Coach Bougie, how are you, Coach?
I am good, Gray. Thanks for having me on today, man.
So, where are you right now?
Where am I?
Yeah,
Like in
where are you in the world right now?
So I am in Southern California in Orange County. Have you ever been out this way?
Farthest I've been is San Diego and Vegas, or yeah, and Los Angeles.
Okay. So yeah, I'm like right in between San Diego and Los Angeles. We're literally the county right in between those two.
Okay. So yeah, I've been to San Diego and Los Angeles, but I've never been to Orange County. So I'm not a catcher, but my mom showed me some of your videos about spending too much time on my phone and how that can help me, how that can keep me from playing varsity baseball in high school. So let's start there. Can you explain more?
Yeah, so funny story about that video. Every Sunday morning, I meet up with one of my mentors at a Starbucks super early in the morning, and he has a 14-year-old son who plays basketball. And he was telling me, he's like, dude, I'm trying to help him understand that, yeah, like you go to basketball practice and whatever, you work hard there, but like if you actually want to play varsity, like it's the time that you have outside of the regular practice time that's going to determine how well you're going to be. And when he said that, I was like, hold up, that is gold. I need to write a script for that right now. So I wrote a script right there. I had him look at it and he was like, I think it's missing this. We made one change to it. And then I filmed the video like the next day. And that video like totally blew up because I think it just resonated with a lot of people. And I think a lot of parents are tired of their kids being on their phones. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Do you struggle with that at all?
I was about to say, hopefully I'm not one of those people on their phone too much. Yeah, but I'm trying to lower it. I'm trying to get the screen time down and focus more on baseball, like you said in the video.
Cool. What are your goals with baseball?
Right now, my goal is to play varsity baseball. Well, that's more in the future, but like right now, like this week, I mean, I'm trying to help my team out to try to win championships, in travel ball. Um, I'm just trying to compete and be competitive and do as best as I can right now.
Cool. I like it.
So before you played catcher, which wasn't until you were in college, can you give us a quick rundown of where you grew up and how you got hooked on baseball?
Totally. So I'm from Salt Lake City originally. Have you ever been out there?
I've never been to Utah. No.
Super pretty. Great. Got to be top five most prettiest states in the U.S. But born and raised in Salt Lake City, and I grew up totally in a baseball family. My dad even decided when I was probably around your age. How old are you right now?
I'm 14 years old right now.
14. So maybe a few years younger than you. My dad was driving us like, 45 minutes few times a week down to go practice indoors during the winter for baseball. And he was like, you know what? We need an indoor baseball facility in Salt Lake. And so he actually opened one up. And I lived there for 3 years, the 3 years that it was open. And totally fell in love with it. Was a baseball junkie, just loved it. Learned so much. Was always watching. Was always studying. And was an infielder my whole life. And then when I was a junior in college, I remember I was playing summer ball in Ohio, and I kid you not, the day before, my coach calls me and asks me if I want to be a catcher. I'm at the field, and it's like just so hot, Midwest heat. The first time that I'd ever been in the Midwest, and I was just like, wow, this humidity is very sweaty. And I'm watching these catchers put on all their catcher's gear and run down in the heat, just dripping sweat to go do blocking drills. And I remember talking to one of my teammates who was standing next to me and saying, "Did you just have to be built different to want to catch?" And literally the next day, my coach gives me a call when I'm at the gym and asks, "Hey, what do you think about transitioning to a catcher? It's kind of dangerous because you might lose your spot. You might get caught in between positions, but I wouldn't ask anyone else to do it. I don't think anyone else would have the attention to detail and the work ethic that you would have to be able to make the switch. So what do you think?" And so I was like, you know what, let me think about it, let me pray about it, and decided, yeah, I think this is a good idea, and jumped in. And then I made the switch my junior year.
So really right there, I noticed is you're just trying to help the team a lot, and your coach, I'm pretty sure was like saying the same thing. Yeah, you like you said, there's a possibility of losing your spot in the starting lineup, but any way to help the team, I guess, is what you were thinking there, right?
Yeah, and so it was one thing that I heard a few years ago when it comes to making decisions is it's always helpful if there's a push and a pull. And so what that looked like was, um, there was a pull from my coach asking, and there was a spot open uh, at catcher. Like we needed another catcher. But there was also a push in the sense that I wanted to go on and play at the next level. And I was a really good infielder, but I was pretty slow for a middle infielder. So I ran like a 7.260. So do you know what your 60 time is right now?
I haven't done the 60 in a while. I'm is that good? Is that bad? I mean,
So 7.2, if you're 14, that's probably pretty decent if you're 14. But if you're in college and you want to go play pro ball, a 7.2 just isn't going to play. And so I knew that I needed to run like at least a 6.9. And I had been working super hard and it just wasn't clicking yet. And so I knew that if I wanted to play, probably playing catcher would be my best option at the next level. And so it worked out really well where, it was helpful for the team. My
whoa,
coach, oh, sorry. My daughter just hit the power button.
you're good.
That's pretty funny. Um, let's see. Are we back?
Yeah, we're good. I'm good.
I have a power strip right here. My daughter's one. No, she's walking around and stuff, and she just hit the button and just turned off the lights. Um, but so yeah, so it worked out for the team, and it worked out for me of my goals. And it was just like, you know what? Let's give this a shot. Let's do it.
Mm. So I had a triple last week, and it was like 12.2 seconds to third. I don't know how that equates to a 60, but
Well, I guess you'd have to divide that by 2/3, but you're also running a little bit more. But I feel like 12.2, that's what, 4 seconds a base, roughly.
I think Ellie De La Cruz made it from first to home in something like 10 point something seconds.
That's great. He ran an extra 90 feet in
Hmm.
2 seconds less than you. That's crazy.
So my dad was a catcher, and he always tells me it's the fastest way to make varsity because not many kids can do it well. So, but I've never really tried it. Is he right? Is he right about that?
Well, that's the other thing. They say not only is it the fastest way to make varsity, a switch hitting catcher is the fastest way to make it to the big leagues. And I would say, based off of everything that I've seen, it makes a lot of sense to play catcher, even if it's just to just to be able to play the position. But yeah, like if you want to move up and you can catch and you're really good defensively, that is the fastest way to move up.
So, how did you make the transition from player to content creator?
Yeah, great question. And what's up, guys?
How you
Nice to
doing?
meet you. So from player to content creator. So after I finished playing, I actually went back to Salt Lake City and was a youth pastor there. Um, and then my wife is from Southern California. We wanted to come back to Southern California. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I was looking around at all these different jobs. Ended up working at like a little startup, which was awesome. I learned a ton about how a business works and how to get things off the ground and how to try something, test it out, get feedback, and try it again. And I started even to create some content on LinkedIn, and it was a ton of fun. I really loved creating content. And even when I was in college, I have a bunch of just like short stories that would just pop into my head, and I would just write on them in my phone. And so looking back, like content was always just like spilling out of my brain. And then eventually, Coach Rack, who's one of my best friends, we were in each other's weddings. And after he got released from the Nationals, he started making TikToks and started to blow up. And he's like, "Hey, you should do this." And then gave me his camera and taught me how to edit. And then I just started making content from there.
Okay, Coach, I wanted your appearance to really have an impact for any listeners that might wear the gear. So obviously, I have two catchers from my 14U Sauce Athletics team to come on. They have some questions. First up is Noah Mosier, who we call Nomo. What up, Nomo?
How you doing? What's up?
All right. And Aiden Chung is here too. How are you, Aiden?
Good, how are you?
So they each got have some questions for you, Coach Bougie. So let's start with Nomo. What you got?
So, a lot of people ask a really good question. I think it's a good question too. So, like, what's a good mindset when you're getting ready for a game when you're about to catch?
Great question. Before I answer that, are those action figures all along your back wall
These are
right there?
bobbleheads.
Bobbleheads? What's your favorite one?
Yes. Probably. Here, I'll show you real quick.
That's so cool, man. I love it.
Probably when Chipper rescued Freddy on
That's
the 8.
awesome. How many of those do you have?
Dude, probably over 200.
Wow,
Yeah, me and my dad collect them a lot.
that's impressive, man. Nicely done.
Thank you, thank you.
Um, okay, so to answer your question, what's a good mindset to have going into a game? Is that right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
sir.
So so have you ever heard of the inversion principle? Have you heard me talk about this before?
No.
Okay. This is one of my favorite things. Okay. Whenever you are asking yourself, what's something good, the, the best way for you to actually find the most important things would be to flip it or invert it, which is why it's called the inversion principle, and ask yourself, what would be the worst mindset that you could have going into a game? So let me actually toss it back to you.
Okay.
If you had to answer that and say, what would be a mindset that would ensure that I would have a terrible game? What would a mindset be? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
So like to have a terrible game,
Uh-huh.
probably just like make sure I don't make errors because a lot of pressure is like on me and like making sure like I don't like mess up or anything because like catchers are in like every single play.
Okay. So putting a lot of pressure on yourself
Right.
would be a mindset that would probably lead to a worse outcome. Okay.
Right.
Great. Now, Aiden, let me come to you. What's
All right.
another mindset? If you're trying to build a mindset that makes you fail in the game, what would be another thing that you would want to think about?
Like probably like, oh, I can't do this. I don't have the ability to do this.
Yeah, you're doubting your ability, right? You're not very confident, right? Maybe even a little like tentative, where you're hesitating. Okay, great. Let's get one more. What would you say is another one?
Um, I want to piggyback on Nomo's like you have to do this well or else everyone's gonna look at you funny. Or if you don't do this, then no one's gonna like you or something like that.
So, okay, that's great. So that's tying your identity to your performance is the last one that you just said. Where if I don't do well, no one's going to like me. So then you're tying your identity to how well your performance is. You're tying other people's love, like conditional love, to your performance on the field, right? So then it's very easy. Then we just flip it right back over. So Nomo, What was the thing that you said that was bad? Remind us one more time.
Trying to make sure like there's not a lot of pressure on yourself, making sure like, oh, if I make an error, like it's gonna be like, all right, like make sure like just like breathe and not have a lot of pressure on yourself.
Totally. So the bad way, the bad path is to put a ton of pressure on yourself.
Right.
And so then what's the opposite of that?
Making sure like you don't have any pressure. Make sure you slow the game down and make sure it doesn't like speed up on you.
Yeah, play free, slow it down. Absolutely. Okay, so then that's our first key of a good mindset going into the game. And then Aiden, what was your key again of
I
how to do it?
said that I said that like a bad mindset is like you can't do it or like you like don't have the ability.
Right. Yeah, doubting yourself, playing tentative. And so then we flip that. What would that be?
Like I can do this. I am able to do this.
Yeah. You believe in yourself, you got positive self-talk, you're aggressive, your body language is good, right? And then Gray, what did you say?
Mine was if I don't do something right, no one's gonna like me.
Yeah.
And flipping that would be if I do something right, then people are gonna look up to me or something like that.
Yeah, so I would actually say that's the same coin, just the different side. And so I would say the conditional side, right, is like if I do bad, people don't like me. If I do good, people like me. To flip that, to invert that, wouldn't be whether I do good depends on how much people like me. It would be regardless of how I do. I know my parents love me. I know my teammates love me. Right. And so that would be like unconditional love, right? That would be like having your identity in something other than your performance. So to answer your question, Nomo, great question. But the three keys would be making sure that our identity is in something other than our performance, right? And then making sure that we're aggressive, that we're self-confident, and then that we are making sure that we're having fun and playing loose. So that's what I would say. And now you have a good framework to answer all those questions. Do you remember what it was called, Nomo?
For it started with an I. I know that
Yep.
it was like something and
It's almost like a fraction.
yeah, I forget.
Aiden, do you remember? I see you
It's like
smiling.
it's something like inverse.
The inverse. Yeah, the inversion principle is the technical word for it. So, but the easy framework, right? You could do this with school, you could do this with relationships. Literally, this is just like a way that you should think about something. But whenever you ask yourself, what's a good mindset or what's a best mindset, always flip it. Say, what would be a bad mindset? What would be the worst mindset? And then answer that because you'll very quickly be able to identify that one and then just flip it back over. And that's what good is.
So Aiden, you're up. What's your first question?
Um, so what I think like a lot when I try to like make myself better as a catcher, I'm always thinking about like my pop time because a lot of people like to compare their pop time. So what do you think is the best way to improve your pop time?
Great question. Okay, so I'm going to touch on this in two ways. Okay, the first thing is I'm going to try to show you that your pop time might not be as important as it is. And then the second way is I'm going to tell you how to increase your pop time or decrease your pop time. Does that sound good?
All
Okay.
right.
So if you took a game, let's just say it's 100 pitches. Okay, just for simplicity of numbers, 100 pitch game. How many times do you think you're trying to throw a runner out?
I don't know, maybe 3, 4.
Three, four. Okay, let's go high and five. Okay. How many times now would you say that you're blocking a ball in the dirt out of those 100 pitches?
20, 15.
Yeah, I would say 15. So now we're at 20 pitches roughly out of the 100. So how many are left? How many of those are receiving?
75.
75. Yeah. So if we go 20, then you're right. I was saying we'll go 20 combined. So 5 block or 5 throw, 15 block. And then what's 100 minus 20?
80.
80. 80 receive. Right? Either way, whether it's 75 or 80, same thing. Okay, now let me ask you this. How many stances do you get into every pitch?
2.
Yeah, because what's your first stance?
Your sign,
Your sign stance, and then you get into what?
like your secondary or your like 1E.
Yeah, whatever the pitch is that you're gonna catch from in that situation. So if there's 100 pitches, how many stances are you doing?
200.
200. Okay. So now when we look at it big picture, right? We get into 200 stances. We receive 75 to 80 times. We block 15 to 20 times, and we throw 3 to 5 times. So what is really the most important thing as a catcher?
Receiving.
Receiving. Now, here's the caveat. As you play in younger age groups, blocking becomes more important because there aren't as many like borderline pitches per se as there are in the MLB, because those pitchers are just much more accurate and around the zone. And you guys are going to have more blocks. And if you block, then, or if you miss a block, then it gives up double play, runner score, all that kind of stuff. So, so blocking is really much more important at your guys' age. But yeah, receiving happens the most, and then blocking, and then throwing. And so that's really how we should train it. But most of the time, what everyone thinks about, if you want to get better at catching, is they ask the question that you asked, which was what?
What's your pop time?
What's your pop time? Now, the reason that happens is because that's the easiest to measure. Because is it easy to measure whether someone's a good receiver or not?
Not really.
Yeah. Maybe once you get to the MLB and you can have like the K zone, and you can see like what percentage of borderline pitches do you get called a strike and whatnot. But like when you're your age, it's really hard to measure how good of a receiver you are. It's really hard to measure how good of a blocker you are, but it's really easy to get a stopwatch out and say, all right, throw this as fast as you can and click twice, right? So that's why there's so much emphasis on throwing, but it's not truly correct. Like if you're trying to develop yourself as a catcher, yeah, you need to work on your pop time, but you really should be mastering receiving and blocking. Okay. Do you have any follow-up questions on that?
Not really.
Okay.
But like just like the fact that blocking, you saying blocking is the most or receiving is the most important, and that if we frame at our age, we'll get more strikes calling.
Yeah, 100%. And here's the other thing that I'll say too. Like, if you want to play at the next level and you have a great pop time, but you can't receive the low pitch, you're constantly bouncing your glove, it's like you're just not going to play. Like, it's that important. Like, if you aren't good at that skill, you just won't play. Because the coaches that are looking at the lineup, they understand, hey, the difference between a 1-2 count and a 2-1 count is like 200 points in batting average. And that happens 15 times a game. Multiply that with however many games you play, right? The coach is like, without a doubt, we need the person that's going to win that tiny little micro swing in the game. And whoever's the best receiver is going to play 100%. Now they got to be able to block and they got to be able to throw too, but whoever is the best receiver is going to play. And it's just too important of a position to not have someone elite back there. So if you do want to get better, like, dude, receiving is the path. And you got to be able to block, you got to be able to throw, you got to do all the other stuff too. But like, be an elite receiver, and it opens doors that you wouldn't otherwise have open.
And Nomo, what's your second question for Coach Bougie?
So
Well, hold up, Greg. Can I follow up on Aiden's other question real quick?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, so Aiden, let me answer your question. How do you actually drop your pop time? Okay, there's 3 phases. to the throwdown. Okay. Sometimes you can break it down more or less. I have like a 15-minute breakdown. If you go to catchingmadesimple.com/pop, there's like a whole 15-minute breakdown of exactly all the different phases. But the thing that you got to understand, there's like 3 main times that you need to know. From catch to your right foot getting down, you want that to be at about 0.2 seconds. Now, the only way that that happens is if you start to turn your body before the ball gets there. Okay. Then we want to transfer the ball at like 0.35. And then we want to release the ball at like 0.65. If you can hit those numbers, if you have a decent arm, you're going to throw a 2.0. If you have a good arm, that's when you start to get into like the 1/8s, 1/7s and stuff, like especially like if you're showcasing. But the biggest problem that you'll have is you catch the ball and your chest is still facing the pitcher. And so we want to start to turn our body, both our knee and our shoulder, and then get your right foot down as fast as you can. And if you can do that, that's going to be the easiest way for you to drop your pop time.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
So Nomo, what's your second question for Coach Bougie?
So, me and Aiden are both middle school catchers, right? So, what advice can you give me and Aiden to succeed in the next level for catching in like high school and whatnot?
Totally. So, thing number one, get really good at catching. Like that sounds pretty simple, but you have to be good at the position. Okay. Thing number two, know your pitchers. And when I say know your pitchers, that means know them on the field, know them off the field, know what their family's name is, know what their girlfriend's name is, their dog's name, right? Like you gotta get to know the person, know their personality. Do they like to be pushed? Do they like to be coddled? Right? You got to understand all these different personalities. And then you also have to know their stuff. So when this guy needs a strike, does he want to throw a fastball? Does he want to throw a changeup? Does he want to throw his slider? What's his out pitch? You get a guy with 2 strikes. What do we want to throw? If we need a strikeout, what pitch are we throwing? What are the sequences that he likes? Like all that kind of stuff. So you got to know him on the field and off the field. You got to know how to help him perform what he needs in order to really perform at his highest from his personality style. You got to know his stuff. And then the other thing that I'd say is you got to know his tempo. Does he like to work fast? Does he like to work slow? And I would say to write a notebook, like, and then have your pitcher's name right there. Then you have the family section, then you have all these different sections, and you just take notes on it because you have to know. You just have to know. If you don't know, then you're just not going to have as tight of a relationship, and you won't perform as good.
Awesome.
So Aiden, what's your second question for Coach Bougie?
So what do you think would be the best blocking tip or piece of advice that you've like told anybody?
Great question. I would say this is true for everything. Okay. A lot of the stuff that I'm telling you, will apply it to blocking, but it's literally true for a business. It's true for relationships. Like these are just principles of life. Okay. But it's identify the right problem. Okay. Repeat that back to me real quick, Aiden.
Identify the right problem.
Okay, good. Now there's 2 problems when it comes to blocking. There's a movement problem and there's a decision problem. Okay. Repeat that back to me one more time.
There's a movement problem and a decision problem.
Good. Okay, so a movement problem, an example of that would be you're not actually blocking correctly, right? You're not leading with your glove. Your hips are too high. You're sticking on your knees, right? You don't actually have the ability to go side to side well, right? So there's movement problems. A decision problem would be you're not reading it quick enough. And so if you break it down into like math again, right, it's going to take, there's a certain amount of time that it takes for you to get down and block the thing. There's also a certain amount of time that it takes for you to make a decision. And so the quicker your movement, the later you can make the decision. the slower your movement, the earlier you have to make the decision, and the less accurate you're going to be because the ball continues to change more and more, right? Same thing
Okay.
with,
Yeah.
right? So like you want to be able to have a quick swing so that you can see the ball travel and then boom, right? But if you have to decide right out of the hand, you're not going to know where it is, right? So it's a movement problem and a decision problem. And to solve the movement problem, you just got to do great reps and you have to know the difference between good and bad. And for that, it can help to have a coach or watch my videos or something to understand the difference between good and bad. And then on the decision side, right, you want to think about two things. Draw a line. Everything
Okay.
above the line is you're going to catch in the air, you're going to receive it. Everything below it, you're going to block. And it's like kind of like an imaginary line that you have to draw. And it's different for a fastball versus a curveball and all these different pitch shapes. But there's some line somewhere where if it stays above that line, it will always start above. You want to think receive first. And as soon as it crosses, that's when you know that you're going to block. So receive
Okay.
first, block second, draw the line.
Does the line change like as the pitch changes?
So it's good. So it's based off of pitch shape. Okay. And so like a
Okay.
fastball is going to have a different line than a curveball. But so yeah, the line absolutely changes. And sometimes like a pitcher will throw a harder slider than, he'll have maybe a backdoor or like a loopy slider. And so then you have to have like different lines for that. But it's really just like basically a decision framework of when this thing, like, that when this ball is in the dirt, it starts at this trajectory. You know that when it's in the air, it starts at this trajectory. And so then there's a line somewhere in there that you have to play around with in order to make the best decision.
So, and I'm gonna steal
Okay.
Aiden's last question. So, when a pitcher is having a tough time, or what can a catcher say to calm him down or keep him loose?
Yeah, good question. It really depends on the pitcher, right? And so that's where I would say go back to the notebook that you hopefully have and think about what does this pitcher need, right? Sometimes you need to come out and be like, dude, you're fine. Let's go. Slap him on the back, and then you get back down there, right? Another time you just chuck the ball back to him hard, give him a fist pump. You're like, all right, let's go. Another time you need to make a joke. You're like, hey, that's all right, bro. We'll go get a 7-Eleven Slurpee or something after the game. And so it really just comes back to what's the thing that pitcher needs, and hopefully you know what that thing is before you go out there. So that's what I would say.
So, thank you for those answers, Coach. Guys, anything else for Coach Bougie before we wrap it up?
I'm good. I think
No, that was great.
he said some really good stuff about our questions. That was really good. Thank you.
Nice questions.
So, thank you, Nomo, Aiden. Now, Coach, we've reached the not so rapid fire questions. You can answer with as much as little info as you want. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
So, what ball player did you look up to the most when you were a kid, and did you ever get to meet him?
I'll say a few. I really liked Sean Green and Andre Ethier when I was growing up. And then when I was high school aged, I loved Michael Lorenzen because I went to a Cal State Fullerton versus UCLA super regional game. And he came out before the game and he talked to me. And I was like, this guy's sick. I love this guy. And I did get to meet him. He's really cool.
What was your favorite video game growing up?
Oh, I really liked college. Is it called college football? I don't even remember what it's called, but whatever the college football video game was, building my player to like go win the Heisman and score like a bunch of touchdowns every game. That was always really fun.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten in your life?
Best advice I've ever gotten in my life is learn how to learn. If you can learn how to learn, you can learn any skill. You can learn catching, you can learn business, you can learn another language. But if you don't know how to learn, it's going to be really, really tough.
And lastly, what's your favorite baseball movie of all time?
Ooh, probably Field of Dreams. That's just the classic.
That's a good one. That's one of my top three with Sandlot and Major League, probably.
Love it.
Mm. Thank you, Coach Bougie, for this great interview. Thank you, Aiden and Nomo, also. But anything else you want to add or ask me?
I would say, yeah. What's your big takeaway? What's the number one thing that you learned from today, Gray?
Well, I loved it when the first question when you were talking about mentality, and talk about the inverse, and how to have a better mentality when you're playing. Doesn't just go for catching, goes for every position and every sport too. I love that. Um, I mean, I'm kind of a pitcher myself, so whenever like I'm having a rough outing, my catchers Nomo and Aiden sometimes go up to me and talk to me. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One more question. Two more questions. I'd love to hear the takeaways from the other two guys. And then I have one more question for you, Gray.
Okay, I'll go first. I learned that like the better you know your pitcher, like the better your relationship will be, and the better you'll perform, because like you'll be able to talk to them.
Mm.
I love it.
So definitely what Grayson said on the inverse framework. I like that, like, if you can't frame, then you can't play, because we are like catchers are big framers. Like, that's what like we mainly do. That's how like we look good. But also transferring and blocking is good too. But framing is like what a catcher sees, what a catcher does also.
Yeah, it's the most important thing, without a doubt. And you have to be able to block and you have to be able to throw. But if you can't receive well, you're you're just not going to move up, right? Okay, then Gray, my last question for you is, why don't you try to catch? What's
Uh,
holding you?
I mean, so I said earlier in the interview, my dad was a catcher. He's always tried to. I probably caught like maybe one time in like rec ball. I mean, I just never like got onto it. I just love playing in the field, like outfield, infield pitching. I mean, I just never like had any like big lessons or anything like that. I mean, maybe I'm good at it, maybe I'm not. I mean, I've never tried it out.
Yeah, how would you know until you try?
Yeah, you're right.
What would hold you back from strapping on the gear? I bet one of these guys would let you borrow their gear.
Nomo has let me borrow the gear once. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll tell you what, you know who Buster Posey is?
yeah, Buster Posey.
Yeah, so he won the Golden Spikes in college, right? And one of the things that he did, it's kind of like a famous thing that he's known for. He played every single position in a game. And um, right now, it sounds like you could play most positions, but not catcher,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
You think that you become more valuable the more positions you can play?
Correct. Mhm. Yeah, I think I've played every single position in travel ball except catching. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And high school coaches definitely look for that in a tryout.
In my opinion, everyone should at least know how to play every position. And like, dude, looking back, I wish I would have learned how to catch earlier, but I was a really good infielder. So I was like, nah, I don't need to catch, dude. I'm an infielder. I'm good. I'm a good infielder. Um, Looking back, dude, if I had more time, oh my gosh, right? Who knows what would have happened? I only had 18 months to catch though. I like crammed everything into 18 months. But if you guys at your age can learn, dude, just even if it's just to have another skill set, another tool of athleticism, I would strongly encourage you to give it a shot.
Mhm. Uh, all right. Thanks again, Coach. Folks, please follow Coach Bougie at Catching Made Simple on Instagram, and YouTube, and wherever you can find them. And if you're looking for a world-class instruction, visit his website. His website, catchingmadesimple.com. And you can help my show by subscribing to Baseball Podcasts Are Fun on Instagram, and going to YouTube and Spotify at Baseball Podcasts Are Fun. Please check back soon for an all-new guest. Until then, that was Coach Bougie. I'm Grayson Knight, and this was Baseball Podcasts Are Fun. Don't forget to swing for the fences. See ya.